If you think Rocket League has been safe from hackers, cheaters, and scammers, you are wrong. I'm about to reveal the top things that have been banned or removed from the game over the years, and they are shocking. Also, this video took a metric butt ton of research to make, so hit that subscribe for me. It helps me out more than you think, and Daniel the puppy will thank you personally. Alright, let's just get straight into it. I'm going to be going in chronological order and showing you the patch notes. Number 1. If you read this little note here back in 2016, you'll learn something crazy. You used to be able to alter the game files to get an unfair advantage. But what does that mean? If you're an OG, then you would remember that competitive Rocket League used to include maps like Wasteland and Neo Tokyo that were either larger than normal, had weird slopes and features, or just felt all around wrong. I'm looking at you, Starbase Arc. At the time this ban was introduced, Wasteland had just been added, and Psyonix called it the first of many unusual arena designs that we plan to introduce in the future, and they're only going to get more interesting from here. It was a weird choice by Rocket League to put these whack maps into competitive, so players took the matter into their own hands. They would actually go into their game files, delete these maps from their system, so when the game tried to load into one of these arenas, they would get an error, and of course not load in. Obviously, this was not allowed, and Rocket League started banning any and everyone who attempted to alter their files. Eventually, and probably too long later, Rocket League took the hint and removed non-standard maps from competitive. Now you only get them in Rumble if you dare to play that mode. And if you try to remove any files like that now, you will immediately get banned. Let's move on to number 2, the super jump. Just after people were deleting game files, Rocket League players found a mechanic that was never supposed to see the light of day. The patch note in 1.16 fixed an exploit that allowed battle cars to jump considerably higher than they were supposed to. So of course I had to find out what this was. After some serious digging, I came across this video and some information. Before this patch, if you pressed the jump button rapidly and fast enough, you could spam jump and get super high. It took basically the same skill as wall dashing, but without having to flip forward. The ones who found out about it did it through a macro, but a few could apparently even time it. Knowing how good pros are at wall dashing now, I got a feeling it would be possible if it was still around. I mean, could you imagine the fast aerials you could pull off if this mechanic was still around? But unfortunately, it was not intentional, so Rocket League patched it out pretty fast after its discovery. It actually got patched so fast that it never even got a name, so I'm gonna call it the super jump. But that wasn't the only mechanic to ever get banned. I'm gonna introduce you to ban number 2.5, since it's already been covered by other YouTubers, so I won't go into a ton of details. I'm talking about the air dash. If you don't know, in January of 2017, Rocket Science showed off a mechanic called a no-flip or air dash. So credit to him and Calvin is Bad News for covering it recently. Feel free to watch their videos below, I link them. Basically, this mechanic was an exploit that allowed you to cancel your front flip entirely and just dash through the air completely still. Like a wave dash, but in the air. You had to bind front flip to a button and cancel the flip while you released the button. It was pretty difficult to pull off, but definitely could have been mastered. You would gain speed, but keep your car's position, which could have been super useful in the air. But sadly, this one was again unintended by Rocket League and was something that could only be executed on PC. So of course, that gave an unfair advantage against console players, and the mechanic was patched in patch number 1.28. Now it's time for ban number 3, Smurfing. You might find this hard to believe since it's still such a big issue today and very controversial. But Smurfing basically used to be allowed until it was officially banned for the first time in March of 2017. That's 2 years after Rocket League was released. In the notes, Rocket League said, in the interest of enforcing fair competition, a small number of accounts have been identified as abusing the matchmaking system and will receive a hard skill reset. These accounts will not receive competitive Season 3 item rewards. The players they banned were intentionally playing at a rank that was not their own. But instead of totally banning the accounts, Rocket League just reset their ranks. Which I think is actually hilarious because Rocket League just turned those accounts back into Smurfs. Like, these players who were some rank got put all the way back in bronze and probably destroyed anyone they played, which is actually pretty ironic. Rocket League obviously still struggles to prevent Smurfs, freestylers, Sorry, I don't know what happened there. But this was the first real instance of taking action against them. Ban number 4 is about text chat. Right after banning players for smurfing, Rocket League acted on verbal harassment. Basically, before this patch, it was the Wild West out there. You could literally say anything and face no repercussions. I mean, there were some banned words, but it was not much. It was like playing Call of Duty back in the OG days. So, of course, that had to change. They added a bunch of new words to the censorship library and started banning players who were a little too colorful with their words. This was actually the first time you could report other players in the game, so it was kind of a big deal. Small other note, Rocket League also started censoring nameplates. They used to be visible no matter what was on them, but that changed as well. Ban number 5, leaving matches. This one is kind of a small one again, but actually makes a massive difference. Have you ever been in a match and just get absolutely wrecked right out of the gate? Like it's 1 minute in and you're down by 7 goals, your teammate is AFK, it's a nightmare. Well, you used to be able to just leave. Don't like your teammate? Fine, just dip. But Rocket League, in its infinite wisdom, decided to make you now wait until 3 minutes and 30 seconds before forfeiting and then leaving. And if you don't play by the rules, you get banned worse and worse each time you leave. This obviously has pros and cons, but has totally changed the way competitive is played now. Moving on to number 6, trade exploits. This topic was actually really hard to cover. Trading has had a ton of issues over the years. We're talking scammers, exploits, keys, crates, but I'm gonna cover the one thing I thought was the most crazy. Ghost item duplication. Doesn't that sound sick? So believe it or not, Rocket League had a bug where you could straight up duplicate items. We are aware of the item duplication glitch that involves a party leader kicking a party member during a trade. Considering how valuable items can be in Rocket League, this was a huge deal. Finding actual footage of this glitch was difficult, but credit to Sinvo for this example. Once an item was duplicated, it had another problem though. Remember that word ghost in the name? That's because as soon as you closed Rocket League and logged back in, the item would disappear. For some reason, it would act normal before you closed the game. You could use it in matches, it would show up in inventory, and you could even trade it. But once you backed out, it was gone. So naturally, scammers used this exploit to trade items that were actually ghost items. Tons of players got ripped off, and when they loaded Rocket League back up, they could not find the item they traded for. Thankfully, this was fixed, but let it be a warning to always watch out for scams when you're trading. We are moving up the list to number 7, rank disparity. This isn't so much a ban, but rather a way to prevent a bad experience for everyone. Before patch 2.01, you could queue up with any of your friends from any rank and launch straight into a game of 3v3. But that's no longer possible. Now your teammate must be within 3 ranks of the party leader to even play. But this only happens when you are a duo queuing up 3v3. When they first released this, I figured it would affect every game to prevent smurfing, but that wasn't their intention. The real goal seems to be helping people who solo queue into 3v3 modes. That way there's no chance you get paired with Jeff and Bob. Jeff is your rank, but Bob is Jeff's friend who is a mere silver 2 and is learning how to drive in a straight line. Bob is going to cost you the game, or was until this update. Side note, in this same update, Rocket League removed player count and replaced it with amazing, great, and good. That was really just a way to hide the fact that Rocket League is dying, which I think is hilarious. Alright, number 8, reporting systems. This ban is a lot of things combined into one, so we're just gonna go through them. In update 2.08, Rocket League added a refreshed reporting system to crack down on all kinds of behavior. That included text harassment, verbal harassment, match throwing, griefing, intentionally idle, XP farming, inappropriate player names, inappropriate club names, and even trade scams. Of all the bans I've covered, this one is maybe the least exciting, but probably one of the most important on your experience. Tons of accounts are constantly being removed since we now have the ability to report pretty much anything. So this change was a huge deal and definitely improves the quality of life of the game. So do yourself a favor and report people in Rocket League so the game is better for everyone. Or just keep reporting your bad teammate, I'm not your dad. Okay, the final ban is once again more of a catch-all, but I'm talking about mods. If you've ever watched my videos or play Rocket League on PC, you know that mods are popular in Rocket League. Some are harmless, like Bacchus mod to make your car look cooler for yourself, but others have created serious competitive advantages. Like, there used to be a Bacchus mod plugin for ball prediction, which eventually got removed. But it's kind of interesting that the Chinese version of Rocket League actually has it still integrated into the game to help people learn faster. There's also been mods to see how much boost time has left to spawn, ways to see through the ball and find your opponent, and even macros for doing mechanics that just shouldn't be possible. Thankfully, Bacchus mod has a good relationship with Rocket League administration and works to make sure these mods never make it to the public. So if you're looking for a way to cheat the system, you are not going to find it. Plus, even if it somehow happened, you would get banned pretty fast, so I would not recommend trying that. But mods used the right way do make for amazing videos, so give one of these a watch, and I'll see you next week.